Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good rotation of the earth. May the peace of the Holy Spirit be with you. Welcome to the World Crown. Happy New Year, 2026. In our liturgy, which is part 3 of our World Crown 3-part presentation, we mention Baha'ism. To set the record straight, Mirza Hussein al-Nuri is not God. He is not even the glory of God. That is what his name means. Lots of parents name their child Jesus, who to Christians is the glory of God. But Mirza Hussein al-Nuri's parents did not name their son the glory of God. Also, a boy who carries a name which means the glory of God does not mean he is the glory of God. Mirza Hussein al-Nuri, aka Baha'u'llah, is a conspiracy. In the same manner, Guru Nanak is a conspiracy. The good religions they are associated with did not start as a conspiracy, but later became conspiracies to preserve and protect conspiracy information. Such great religions that are Baha'ism and Sikhism were started by man who loves his Holy Spirit and all its religions. If these religions stop blessing all the religions, which is how they got their start, then they will turn into cults. Baha'ism and Sikhism should be in tune with all the heresies that religions become, even their own. Baha'ism and Sikhism are important. Both are downsized versions of the revelations that made them and the judgments of God which founded them. Today's brief address is a small history of the judgment of God. In the 1700s, white supremacy was judged like they always are. When the year 1776 came, the King of England had vanished and was nowhere to be found. In the 1700s, slowly, the nobles were judged. British militaries turned into militias and soldiers of fortune, and eventually England lost all their colonies. In the 1700s, the judgment of God that would dominate that century began after the death of King Louis XIV, a great and terrible judgment of God and rising of providence. After the lifetime of Juan Inés de la Cruz and King Louis XIV, 1700s were years of great turbulence, which in America, George Washington and many others scouted the frontiers, and they realized British and French troops were becoming less and less. By the time the year 1776 came about, George Washington and the colonists had witnessed the general decline and were ready to be independent, and the Holy Spirit and no one else led the movement to write a new constitution and create a new government from the friendly commoners, which succeeded in living in peace with the Indians and would start a new nation under God with George Washington at its head. George Washington led the obedience, which mandated peaceful and continually evolving good relations with the human condition as it manifested in Native American bodies. About natives, George Washington once said, and later wrote, "All men and women are equal." But white supremacy's lower ranks still loomed. And after the establishment of the United States, white supremacy sought to dissolve the new nation. A new judgment had begun. White supremacy made troubles with the Indians and caused the Indians to rise up in the West, while white supremacy plans were to flank them from the East. Meanwhile, a diaspora of immigrants became prejudiced thanks to white supremacy causing the Indians to rise up. The immigrants created prejudiced states and became a militancy for white supremacy. More famously, they are known as the Confederate States, or the Confederacy of the United States. The Southern States. White supremacy historians have erased what was a glorious judgment of God in the 1800s. They don't mention it. All they mention are revolutions and civil wars. And so the same thing that happened in the 1700s happened again in the 1800s. the 1800s was not about Baha'ism. In the 1800s, the one and only God of the Christians and Muslims, and of all the major religions, made the judgment of God a public ministry. So glorious was its climax that major cities around the world erected angels of independence, and the French honored our Holy Spirit by sending the United States the Statue of Liberty. And so Mirza Hussein al-Nuri, aka Baha'u'llah, had nothing to do with the judgment of God of the 1800s. But Baha'ism, the teaching of man, reached Persia. And like Baha'ism reached Persia, man's teachings in another life also created Sikhism. Sikhism and Baha'ism originally are systems where man and woman and all of the Holy Spirit's religions are important. Hinduism is the original Holy Spirit system where all religions of the Holy Spirit are important. In ancient Abrahamic monotheism, the same. Moses, later Solomon, then Jesus and Muhammad, to name only some of man's personas, reminded us that our souls are born again, and that our Holy Spirit is the God who has no name, but whom is known and loved by different names in different religions all over the world. Now, with the blessing of my Holy Spirit, I enter you into heavenly information. As our Holy Spirit has no name, the same goes for your souls. You are a model of your Holy Spirit. You are souls who started without names and now have accrued many names through the various different lives that you have lived. Your minor family is on earth, and your greater family is in heaven, where you remember every soul you have ever known. Your soul is capable of great things, things that your body is not capable of doing, such as storing an infinite amount of information about your own existence. And so in heaven, your best memories are returned. In heaven, everything you have ever loved, every person and beloved animal, is returned to you. Your favorite cow will come to greet you. And so You Only Live Once thinking says now, I've never had an animal in this life. How can that be? Worry not. When you go to heaven, your You Only Live Once thinking will be stripped from you, so you can again join with your beloved donkey from a past life, or someone you love in a different life. You are a child of heaven who lives between heaven and earth. Because you have been born again, your souls have worshipped the Holy Spirit by different names and in different religions throughout history. And so, before Baha'ism and Sikhism, Judaism, Buddhism, Christianity, and Catholicism, Islam used to teach that to understand our religious heritage is to know the greatness of our Holy Spirit. So you only live once Baha'is, or born again Baha'is, have nothing to be ashamed of, or the Sikhs. But the Statue of Liberty does not honor or represent Mirza Hussain al-Nuri. If Mirza Hussain al-Nuri was God, the French would have sent the Statue of Liberty to Iran. But they sent it to the United States. Because in the United States, a very important struggle was in motion. That struggle is the creation of the "You Live More Than Once" Americas. What every nation should be in its perfection. In the United States was an unknown American white man who ran around blessing all things, and at the same time opposing white supremacy, opposing Freemasonry, and facilitating the judgment of God publicly, while spreading the Holy Spirit concept of America westward. Along the way, he baptized Indians and accrued followers and admirers and established cities. And while recognizing the Holy Spirit faith of Native Americans, the white man ended up establishing his Indian-loving church in Utah after a tremendous ministry in direct opposition to white supremacy. But white supremacy conspired against man and his Indian-loving religion. And white supremacy made it look like he was assassinated. And so the 1800s conspiracy of information to alter and diminish history succeeded and is currently the status quo history. Unless found, the real testament of man, as Joseph Smith, is lost to us, just like many teachings of Jesus have been lost to us. The Book of Mormon is not the testament of man. The true life of Joseph Smith is another testament of man, which Joseph Smith claimed to be. Joseph Smith did not claim to be Jesus Christ, knowing what a problem that was and still is. But he also did not deny it. So the 1800s was not about Baha'ism, but about the revelation of man that all major religions were started by the same Holy Spirit. The same revelation as always. The judgment of God of the 1800s was a public ministry where white supremacy, the Spanish Empire, and the Prussians and heretic Muslims were judged. The judgment of God of the 1800s judged tyranny in Islam and dissolved the tyrants which headed the Spanish Empire, Judgment of God of the 1800s, judged and separated Russia from Germany and shattered their "you only live once" hypocrite Christian faith. And the resolve of the Holy Spirit to teach reincarnation began slowly turning "you only live once" Christian white supremacy into heretic and atheist right and left wings, which became socialism and communism in the 20th century. But the 1800s was a glorious judgment of God's Holy Spirit. For Christians, it was another return of Jesus the Christ, who was eternalized gloriously by the painter William Adolph Barrow. Enjoy those pictures, those paintings. In the 1800s, the century of the Statue of Liberty, William Adolph Barrow painted "No Other God" and glorified the goddess, our Holy Spirit. Abbot Henderson Thayer, also in the 1800s, did the same. The 1800s revelation of man was a confirmation of the manifest destiny of America, a continuing and ongoing project that concerns every soul in existence. The Nazis are in conspiracy against the concept and have dug trenches inside the United States and are being judged even as I speak. We have all been Indians, and as Indians, our Holy Spirit has not abandoned us. We will all be Indians again. We will be Africans again. We will be Hindus, and every race that is loved and hated at this current time because of the problems started by white supremacy. We today incorporate the Indians like Joseph Smith did, like George Washington did before that, like King Louis XIV did, and most memorably, like Hernan Cortez and the Spanish did in 1521 to get the Americas started. Before Cortez, Christopher Columbus's efforts helped to ease our "you only live once" terrified of reincarnation souls. That because man has steadily taught it to us for thousands of years, leading up to the 1500s, a critical time in our history together on this earth. That's it. Now, our religious information is information which should not get in the way of you being an athlete, a business owner, a policeman, a firefighter, a paramedic, a doctor, or any good job or career in this world. I expect those of you who need confirmation and who have a good relationship with the Holy Spirit to seek answers to your questions in prayer and not direct any questions to me using magic. Let's continue on. We are in section 2.1.1, calendar, which is segment 2 of our World Crown address. Welcome to the World Crown's calendar. Our table of contents is as follows. First responder, section 2.2.1. Perspective, section 2.2.2. The good news, section 2.3.1. Calendar, section 2.4.1. Seasonal benediction, section 2.5.1. Zodiac, section 2.6.1. Your relationship with the Holy Spirit, section 2.7.1. Marriages, section 2.7.2. Flowers, plants, and trees, section 2.8.1. Education, section 2.10.1. The blessing, section 2.11.1. The calendar is divided into pre-recorded sections whose videos will be updated as time permits.